All right, this is the slide I wanted to share. Okay, so the first thing to keep in mind is that when looking at security roles in Work 365 is that they're additive. That means really what I mean by that, what we mean by that is that they're not standalone roles. So if you want to use a Work 365 role to give somebody permissions to do a task or function in the organization, you want to make sure that they actually have an existing CRM role, and the Work 365 role builds on top of that. So if you just assign somebody a Work 365 role by itself, they're not going to be able to do much. And here's basically a sample or a recommended pairing with existing roles you already have in Dynamics 365, right? So what I'm saying here, if you see the slide, is the Work 365 sales role pairs nicely with the salesperson role in Dynamics CRM. So if you are going to give a salesperson access to Work 365, that kind of makes sense. And I want to share with you really what they can do with that. As a salesperson, they're going to be able to create opportunities. They're going to be able to manage leads. They're going to be able to create quotes. And naturally, as they do that and win business, they're going to close the opportunity and bring new customers on board. So what can they do? They can create billing contracts. They can create subscriptions. They can provision accounts automatically. So if you're using Work 365 as a direct partner, you probably will notice a button on the account form that says provision account. That's what a salesperson can do. They can actually provision the full account, which means, going from an account in your CRM system to actually creating a brand new tenant in the partner center, adding subscriptions to that tenant, signing them, getting the acceptance of the Microsoft Cloud agreement in place, creating the billing contracts, all that stuff that typically would be the result of a sale is something the salesperson can do, right? They can also actually generate an invoice. So that's one more capability the salesperson has, because the out-of-the-box role for the salesperson in Dynamics CRM gives them the ability to do that. So we've extended that and said, hey, listen, you can also create an invoice using the Work 365 salesperson role. All right, what does a customer service rep do, right? The customer service rep in our world is someone who's able to help the customer to achieve the outcome that they're looking for after they've become a customer. So in that case, it's really, hey, I've requested new services, I've requested new licenses, help me manage and provision these licenses. So the customer service rep will be able to actually sync subscriptions between the CRM system which is Work 365 and the Partner Center. They will also be able to provision an account, because potentially you could visualize a scenario where the salesperson has closed the deal and the customer service person takes on from there and completes the job of actually setting up the customer in Partner Center or any provider for that matter, right? They can manage the provisioning status of the license change logs, which means that if the customer requests new licenses, there's the change log will go under the awaiting provisioning status, and then the customer service rep can come in and update that status to provisioned, or not applicable as is appropriate, right at that point. They cannot charge the customer credit cards or create payment profiles. And again, I'm reading that line off of my slide here. As you can see, neither can a salesperson. A salesperson cannot create a payment profile using the payment capabilities in Work 365, right? So after 2.0, since 2.0, we've had integration with payment networks, and the salespeople can't really use, can't just go ahead and start charging credit cards. So now, what does the admin role do? The admin essentially allows all the financial transactions in addition to all the operational transactions. So typically, this is going to be paired up with someone who has the ability to touch the customer financially and manage the service side of things as well. So usually, this is the finance team, the provisioning team, the admin team can be assigned the admin role. What the admin cannot do is create a new provider. So say, you're going through the onboarding with us and you have to set up a partner center integration, or even after you finish that and you want to add a new partner center, the admin can't do that. You need a system administrator to do that role, right? So that's the one thing the admin cannot do. The admin can modify all the configuration settings. And today we look at some of the configuration settings as they relate to the invoicing side of things. So hopefully that's helpful. What I want to show you right away is what you would do if you wanted to extend these roles or modify these roles, right? So any questions on this so far? I think I don't have any questions. Okay, great. Yeah. So I will go straight into my CRM system and show you what the best practice is on this. Just one moment, please. I'm gonna have to navigate here between a couple of environments. All right, here we go. So this is one of the environments. I have a test environment here. I'm already navigating, I'm already logged in, and I'm going to navigate into the security area for the application. So you basically go under settings, right? And you find the security area, right? You see the security roles here. I'm going to open up one of the Work 365 roles. Let's open up the admin role. Actually, let's open up the sales role. Now, when I open up the sales role, you see this custom entity tab, right? This is typically what you're going to modify, but you don't want to modify any of the standard roles that are available in the system through the managed solution from Work 365. So how would you do that, right? What you would do is you'd select one of the roles and you would go ahead and create a copy of that role. So now I'm going to create a copy of that role for you. And I'll say, this role is called the Work 365 admin copy, right? And once the copy is complete, I'll be able to go ahead and modify that role. So this maintains that original role. This maintains that original role for us, and also simultaneously allows me to. Why is it doing this? Crap. Okay. All right. I won't worry about this too much. Let me see if I can find. Here we go. I have an example here of an existing role that I'd copied. So we'll just look at this. All right, so what happens is when I go into the custom entity here, I created a copy of the admin. It shows up here. And now under the custom entity tab, I'm able to see some of the entities for Work 365, in addition to all the other custom entities potentially in your system, right? So here's billing contract. It shows me that if I made a copy of the admin role, it allows me access to create, read, write, delete, append, etc., for the billing contract. Now, if I wanted to change some behavior here, I would modify this role and then I would save it. And that would be my new role that I could then assign to somebody from within my organization and let them have, your version of the roles that you want. Say you wanted to have a very specific capability to allow someone to only upload provider invoices, right? So provider invoices is really a finance function where someone is getting invoices from your various providers, like your distributors or the partner center. You can actually upload those invoices into the system to allow you to reconcile the system down the road. So what you do then is you go down here and create a role just for that specific capability. If I find a provider invoice, keep going. There it is. So in the admin role, obviously there is full capability to do provider invoice, but I would basically start out maybe with another role like the sales role or the customer service role, take away everything else and just maybe keep this entity here and give them the privileges on this. Now, obviously, to do this, you need to be a system admin. So just keep that in mind. So if you're making modifications to your roles and your security settings in the system, you have the right permission and roles to start with, right? Any questions on this? So just to keep in mind, I have these slides will be part of the recording. And I'm going back to my slides just for a quick recap here. This is how it works. The sales roles are additive. They're not standalone. Recommend that if you're giving somebody salesperson Work 365 sales role, make sure you give them a salesperson role, etc. If you need to make system level changes like setting up providers and things like that, you need to be a system admin. One more thing I didn't mention here right now, I didn't mention is incentives. Work 365 calculates sales commissions and incentives. A salesperson a person with a sales role can only see their incentives. They cannot see incentives calculated for others within the organization. However, an admin can see incentives across the board. The Work 365 admin role can see the incentive data across the entire organization. So if a salesperson logs in and goes into the My Incentive dashboard, they're not going to see anybody else's data, only their data. Any questions, thoughts on that? Okay, great. And